بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيد المرسلين وعلى آله وأصحابه وسلم تسليما كثيرا. So we'll start now, inshallah ta'ala. As Majid mentioned, what is in the PowerPoint is maybe a little bit long, but we will not go over 1 hour or 55 minutes. So we'll try to cover as much as we can and then leave the remaining for tomorrow. And the pages covered today are very interesting in the Imama, the Masbouk, late comer, and when you come late, which one is your beginning prayer, or what you miss, is that your first prayer or your last prayer? There's a lot of debate in that. And also we'll see the istikhlaf. If the imam, for example, loses his wudu unintentionally and he wants to ask somebody behind him to lead the prayer without interrupting the prayer. So they are very interesting pages to see today or tomorrow, inshallah. So go ahead, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Majid, go ahead.
بسم الله والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه. يقول المؤلف رحمه الله ونفعنا بعلومه وعلومكم: الجماعة بفرض غير الجمعة سنة، ومن وصل لحد الركوع قبل أن يطمئن إمامه قائما فقد أدرك الركعة وفضل الجماعة، وانسحب عليه حكم المأمومية، فيسجد القبلية معه والبعدية بعد قضاء ما عليه، ولو لم يدرك معه موجب السجود، فإن قدم البعدية بطلت إلا أن يقدمه إمامه.
Yeah, so it said section or chapter on the congregational prayer. So in the Jama'ah. Al-Jama'ah before غير الجمعة sunnah. So for the Maliki and also for the majority of scholars, attending Jama'ah for Fard prayer is sunnah for men. Is sunnah for men, except for the Jum'ah. Attending the Jama'ah for Jum'ah is Fard. That's why he said that the Jama'ah is sunnah, except for Jum'ah. That's Fard. There is an opinion in Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal. For Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal, daily attending the prayer in the masjid or in the Jama'ah is Fard. For Imam Shafi'i, he has three opinions. One say that it is Sunnah as the Maliki and the Hanafi, and one say that it is Fard Ain like Ahmad ibn Hanbal, and one opinion of the Shafi, which is very interesting, that it is Fard Kifaya. It is a communal obligation. The community should have some people attending the Jama'ah. I think that that's a very strong opinion. But for the Maliki, as far as we are concerned, is a Sunnah to attend the Jama'ah. So when, and he says that, so if attending Jama'ah is Sunnah, what is the minimum consideration for praying Jama'ah? So he says that if you go to the masjid and you find your imam in the ruku, and then you make your takbiratul ihram standing. We saw that the takbiratul ihram is a fard or rukun. It is an obligational act, and giving your takbiratul ihram while standing is also obligational. So you have to make your takbiratul ihram in a state where you are standing. So you go to the masjid and you find your imam in the ruku, and you make your takbiratul ihram standing, and then your takbirah to go to your ruku. So when you went to your ruku, you were in a ruku position where the imam start to stand up. So as long as you caught the imam in some of his ruku, you have caught the rak'ah. So you have the rak'ah is counted for you, and then by extension you have the virtue of the jama'ah. You gain the reward of the jama'ah, and this rule will extend that you are in this situation a ma'mun, a follower. And if you are a follower, there are a set of rules that applies to you. For example, you cannot be an imam anymore. So if somebody comes and find you praying, you cannot be an imam because you're already a follower. And this is for the Hanafi and the Maliki. For the Shafi, it does not matter. You still can be an imam even if initially you were a follower. So some of the rulings that apply to you as a follower is what he mentioned is you follow your imam in the sujood qabli. When the imam make a sujood qabli, you need to follow him. And if the imam make a sujood badi, you don't follow him, because if you follow him in this way, your sujood badi will be qabli for you because you still are in prayer. Your sujood will be inside your prayer, is not after you have made the salam. So you wait when the imam is making a sujood badi, you don't follow him. You make your sujood badi after the imam has finished his prayer. So even you follow the imam in both sujood, but you don't do your sujood badi with the imam. You have to delay your sujood badi, even if you did not catch what the reason for which the imam is making the sujood. Let's say that we have seen that if the imam leave two sunnah, like Sami Allahu liman, light sunnah, Sami Allahu liman hamidahu, 2 times, he has to make a sujood qabli. So you came in the rak'ah that ruku that you found that the imam has already prayed 2 rak'ah and he missed the Sami Allahu liman hamidah. So you did not catch the triggering, what has triggered the sujood qabli. Even if you did not catch that, you have to follow the imam because you are a follower. And then if the imam went to the sujood ba'di, he made his salam and went sujood, here you don't immediately follow the imam in the sujood ba'di. You have to complete your prayer and bring your sujood ba'di. If you don't do that, you follow the imam, your prayer is not valid for the Maliki. Go ahead, Majid.
قال وشرط الإمام أن يكون ذكرا مسلما عاقلا بالغا غير مأموم ولا معيد ندبا، وأن يكون عالما بما يجب لها وفيها وبما يفسدها، سالما من البدعة والفسق واللحن، ومنه إبدال حرف بحرف كالضاد بالضاء، وفي هذه الأربعة الأخيرة خلاف، ويزاد في الجمعة الحرية والإقامة. So
and this is the conditions of the imam, and this is also very important, especially in modern days in the masajid, where sometimes people will just go and lead the prayer without being aware of the conditions of being imam. Some will think that it's only enough to know to be able to be a hafiz, for example, to be able to recite. So he said the conditions of the imam are the following. First, the imam has to be a male, it has to be a Muslim, and being a male for the Maliki, that's an absolute condition. So a woman cannot be an imam for men or even for women only. She cannot be an imam. The imam has to be a male. For the Shafi'i, she can be a imam for women, not for men, but she can be imam for women. And for Imam Ahmad, same thing. But there is an opinion in the Hanbali school mentioned by Al-Mardawi, I think in the Insaf, that a woman can be an imam even for men. And then the Hanabila are debated, those who say that where should she stand, in the middle or in behind the saf of the woman, or in front. That's not clear, but that's an opinion that is not the most reliable opinion in the Hanbali school, but it is there. For Imam Abu Hanifa, I don't remember exactly. I think that she cannot be Imam, it's like the Maliki, or she cannot be Imam, but if she is the Imam for women, the prayer is valid. The second condition, so for the Maliki, a woman cannot be Imam for men or for women. It has to be a Muslim. Obviously, you cannot pray behind a non-Muslim. It has to be also sound. It has to be a person who is intellectually sound, is not mentally challenged. It does not suffer from mental illness that make him not aware of what he's doing. So here is not light mental illness, because many of us suffer from some mental illness, some mental challenges. So light mental challenges is okay, but the mental illness that is problematic, somebody does not know what he's doing. It has to be mature too, that's a condition, which means that a child cannot be an imam, even if he is a child who would know what, he memorized the Quran and he knows things, what they call Rashid, he has a rushd, or mumayyiz, he can differentiate things, like let's say, at 9 years old, he can differentiate things, he can read, he can sometimes memorize the Quran, but he cannot be imam. And the reason for that is that for him at this stage and age, the prayer is sunnah for him. So he will be praying sunnah, and those who are behind him, hadam. So those who are behind him will be praying sunnah, and he will be praying fard. For the Shafi, and I think for the Hanbali, it can be imam. So the imam should not be also a follower. We have seen that if the imam was a ma'mun, he entered to pray behind an imam, and somebody come and pray behind him, this prayer is not, his prayer, that person who praying behind him, his prayer is not valid. And we see that a lot in masajid, especially here in Champagne. Oh, thank you. Yeah, Noor mentioned that for the Hanafi, it's makruh for a woman to lead even women. Yeah, so it's makruh, but the prayer is valid. Thank you, Noor. And then, so we see that a lot in the masjid here. When somebody will come, a late comer will be praying behind an imam, and then when the imam will finish, we stand up praying his prayer, and somebody will come and follow him. Here for the Maliki and the Hanafi, the prayer is not valid, but for the Shafi and Hanbali, the prayer will be valid. So the imam should not be a follower. And the imam also should not be a person who's repeating a prayer to gain a virtue. In the Maliki school, that's what we call i'ada, meaning that I went to the masjid and I saw that they have prayed Dhuhr already, and I prayed my Dhuhr. And when I prayed my Dhuhr, I found that the Jama'ah was not held yet. So the Imam Ratib comes and he starts the Jama'ah. Here, I joined the Jama'ah with the intention of I'ada. I repeat my Fard. So when I repeat my Fard and leave it for Allah to choose which one is better, because I prayed individually, so my reward is less. So when I pray with Jama'ah, hopefully I will gain my Jama'ah for the Fard. So you are repeating obligatory prayer to gain the virtue of Jama'ah. That's mu'eed. So if you're making i'ada, you cannot be an imam. And 7, you have to be also knowledgeable of what the obligational act of prayer is. You need to know the shurut, the arkan during the prayer, and you have to know also you have to know what the obligation, the preconditions of prayer are. ما يجب لها, what had to be ready before you start, and what the pillars are, the pillars, the arkan of the prayer, that's inside the prayer. The preconditions are outside. You do precondition before your prayer. You make wudu, you face the qibla before starting the prayer. That's shurut. But what in the prayer, that's arkan, standing up, for example, in your takbiratul ihram, giving your takbir, that's a rukun, it is in the prayer. You have to know that, and you have to know also what invalidates the prayer, mufsidat salat. So it's not only enough to memorize Quran, but you have to be knowledgeable, because if you don't know that, how will you prevent them? So you have to be also free from innovation. Saliman min al-bid'ah. It should not be a mubtadi like the Khariji, for example. But again, here there are since bid'ah is not really clearly defined, the definition, unlike what we may think. The definition of bid'ah is not, there's no one definition of what a bid'ah is and what a mubtadi is. So this will follow that debate. But in general, it should be free from bid'ah. It should be also free from fisq. Fisq is a person who's not, who does not take his religion lightly. He is a practicing Muslim. Is not a person who does not care, for example, who will be drinking sometime or doing things in public that a Muslim should not do. Free from fisq, and also he has to be free from lahan. Lahan, this is very important. Lahan is, lahan is making grammatical mistakes in language, and also mispronouncing some sound. So lahan has to be to do with grammar and also pronunciation. So an imam who's free from lahan, he does not make mistake in grammar. It will not recite, for example, وَأَذَانٌ مِّنَ اللَّهِ وَرَسُولِهِ وَأَذَانٌ أَنَّ اللَّهَ, the part that I want, أَنَّ اللَّهَ بَرِيءٌ مِّنَ الْمُشْرِكِينَ وَرَسُولُهُ. Right? If you said wa rasuli, that's a grammatical mistake, and it changed the meaning dramatically. It makes that Allah is does not have anything to do. Allah is does not have anything to do with the unbelievers and the Prophet. So Allah is has no business to do with the Prophet like the unbelievers. So the kasra in the rasulihi, that's a lahan. Same thing, إِنَّمَا يَخْشَى اللَّهَ مِنْ عِبَادِهِ الْعُلَمَاءُ. If you read it, إِنَّمَا يَخْشَى اللَّهَ مِنْ عِبَادِهِ الْعُلَمَاءَ, that's turning the meaning upside down. It makes Allah fearing the scholars, not scholars fearing Allah. So that's a grammatical mistake, that's lahan. The imam should not, should be free in that. And then the pronunciation part is the imam mispronouncing some sound, for example, dad in dha. This example is good, but the example of dad and dha can be debated from a linguistic point, because there is a definition, the description of Sibawayh of the God. He used a word that modern linguists call fricative, is a fricative. So, which means that the dot is not really a stop. The dot is close to the dot. So you can debate that, but as an example, the Imam should not change one letter to another letter. He should not say wala dhalin, for example, and he should not say Rabbil Alameen, Rabbil Alameen, Hamza instead of Ain. This changes the sound, and it changes the meaning. So, but at the end, he said, وَفِي هَذِهِ الْأَرْبَعَةِ, right? The bid'ah part and the fisq part and the lahan part, the grammatical mistake, and changing a sound for another sound, there is a debate, there's khilaf. And that's bring a lot of easiness for non-Muslims who are not from Arabic background, because non-native sound acquisition is almost impossible after the critical age, which is 7, according to some linguists. It will be difficult for people to master the sound. So there's the khilaf in that. And the mu'tamad, the most reliable opinion for the Maliki is that mispronouncing letters does not invalidate your prayer, as long as it is not intentional. If somebody pray Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen instead of Alameen, his prayer is valid, and those who are behind him, their prayer are valid. For the Shafi, there's a problem. The Shafi, all the small details of the Fatiha has to be met. If you make a mistake in the shidda, you did not wala dhalin, you say wala dhalin without a shidda, your prayer is not valid. So Shafi is the most strict in this, and the most flexible is the Maliki, and also the Hanafi. The Hanafi are also flexible. The early Hanafi may have been strict, but the later Hanafi are also flexible in that. So he said, and then, sorry, my son and daughter are making some noise. Can you hear that, or it's okay? It sounds
okay, ma'am.
Okay. So for
Ala has a question in the chat.
Yeah, go ahead. If someone joined the prayer of someone who is a follower, does the prayer become invalid for the follower or for the person who is joining? No, Allah, it become invalid for the follower, not the person who, not for the imam. So you came and you find somebody with, no, it became for, so, let me explain that again. So you came to the masjid and you find that somebody was following an imam. That person is a follower. It cannot be an imam. So you join him. When you join him, you are also a follower in relation to him. But him in relation to you is an imam. So his prayer is valid, but your prayer is not valid because you're praying behind, you're following somebody who's already a follower. So here, the prayer will not be valid for the person who's joining, who is a follower of another follower. Okay, so let me go back here. So it says that وَيُزَادُ for Jumu'ah prayer, the imam must to be a free person, is not a slave, and he has to be a resident. Because if he's not free and he's not a resident, Jum'ah for him is sunnah. Jum'ah for him is not fard anymore. So if is not fard, is praying something that's not fard, and you are praying behind him fard, and your prayer will not be valid, as we will see that the follower must share the imam in the prayer. Go ahead, Majid.
قال وشرط صحة الاقتداء نيته والمساواة في عين الصلاة وصفتها فلا يصح اقتداء قاض بمؤد ولا عكسه ولا أن يقضي ظهر الأحد خلف من يقضي ظهر السبت وعدم نقص الإمام في القدرة على الأركان عن المأموم وعدم سبقه أو مساواته في الإحرام والسلام وسبقه في غيرهما حرام ولا يبطل إن أخذ فرضه مع الإمام.
So the condition of, and that's also answer your question, Ala, the conditions of the soundness of the following, the person who's following an imam, what are the conditions for that person's prayer to be valid? The follower's intention of being a follower. So when you pray, you have to be aware that you're praying behind an imam. So your prayer is not independent from the imam's prayer. And that's the intention of being a follower. You're not praying as an imam. So you need to have that intention. And then you need to have the prayer. You need to share the imam in his prayer. So which means that your prayer and the imam's prayer has to be the same prayer. Both prayer are the same in its characteristics. So you have to have, the prayer has to be the same prayer and the characteristic of the prayer has to be the same. So for the one who's making up a prayer to follow one who's praying an actual prayer of time, the prayer is the same, but the characteristic is not the same. Oh no, the prayer here is not even the same. Let's say that I have to make the Dhuhr prayer, and I go to the masjid and I found the imam praying Dhuhr. But the Dhuhr prayer that I'm making is the Dhuhr prayer of yesterday. I'm making up a Dhuhr and the imam is praying Dhuhr, is not the same prayer. I'm making the prayer of the prayer of yesterday, and he's praying the Dhuhr prayer, the actual prayer. So the prayer is not the same. And then same thing. The imam is making up a prayer, and I'm praying an actual prayer. I cannot follow him. Or I'm making up the Dhuhr of yesterday, and he's making up, the imam is making up the Dhuhr of before yesterday. Here the prayers are the same, making up prayers, but the characteristics are not the same. I'm making up the prayer of yesterday, and the imam is making up the prayer of the day before. Or making up Saturday is making up Sunday. Here the prayer is not valid. And again, so the imam should not also, another third condition, the imam should not be less competent than the follower in performing the pillars of the prayer. Let's say that the imam, for example, is has some mobility issues, so he cannot make his sujood. He has to motion to his sujood. He can stand up and he can sit, but he cannot go to the sujood. He sit in a chair. Here, if I can pray the full prayer, go to the sujood completely. The imam is less competent than me in bringing those pillars, so I cannot pray behind him. Again, so if the imam is sitting and I'm praying standing up, I cannot pray, follow that imam. But if the imam pray sitting and standing, and for me, I sit, I cannot make my sujood, or I cannot stand, I can pray because I'm less competent than the imam. And this is almost the same with the Maliki and the Hanafi here. I'm not sure for the Shafi, but for the Hanbali, if the Imam is sitting, you have to sit. If the Imam is standing, you have to stand. But here you have the problem of standing being a pillar, unless if you cannot. But they took it from the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ when he was sick, and the companions visited him, and they pray in his house, and he was sitting and the pray standing, and he made a sign to them asking them to pray sitting, and he told them that the Imam is made for you to follow. If the Imam is sitting, pray sitting. If he's standing, pray standing. For the Maliki and the Hanafi, this hadith is abrogated by the later action of the Prophet ﷺ when he was sick, in the sickness that he died from. When Abu Bakr was leading, and he came, the Prophet joined the prayer, and Abu Bakr went back, and the Prophet was leading the prayer. The Sahaba prayed standing up, they did not pray sitting. So the pillar is, the condition is that the Imam should not be less competent than the follower. The fourth condition is that the follower should not be, should not perform the ihram or the final salam before allowing the Imam, before or along with the Imam. And that's very important. Sometimes we forget that we should follow the Imam. The Imam is there to be followed, like the hadith said. So if the Imam, you're following something, it means you're going after that person. So doing something at the same time with the Imam is not really following the Imam. You have to do it after the Imam has started. So you should not, so if I come and I'm praying Dhuhr, and the Imam say Allah, before the Imam say Allahu Akbar to start the prayer, I perform my Takbiratul Ihram. I already say Allahu Akbar, my Takbiratul Ihram. Here, I'm not following the Imam, so I'm not part of that prayer. Or also, I did my Takbiratul Ihram at the same time with the Imam. Imam said, Allahu Akbar, start at the same time. My following of that Imam is not valid. But if I do something other than the Takbiratul Ihram and the Salam, so that's the same thing for the Takbiratul Ihram and the Salam. And we have seen that the Salam for the Maliki is also a pillar of prayer, is part of the prayer. So if I did my Salam before the Imam, it means that I ended my prayer before the Imam, or at the same time, I'm not following. So I need to do my Salam after the Imam started his Salam. But if other than Salam and Takbiratul Ihram, I did it before the Imam, I went to my ruku before the Imam start, this is haram, is not, I have did something that's haram, which means that there's a sin in it, but my prayer is valid. Okay, go ahead, Majid.
Ala has another question. He says, do we follow the Imam after they finish saying Allahu Akbar or while they are saying Allahu Akbar?
So you after you say Allahu Akbar, that's how. But if you the important thing that you start after Imam started is Allahu Akbar. So the best is that you let the Imam say is Allahu Akbar, and you say your Allahu Akbar. But if you say your Allahu Akbar at the same time where the Imam is saying is Allahu Akbar, your prayer is not valid with that Imam. That's why you wait for the Imam to avoid making your takbiratul ihram along with the imam, give the chance to the imam for the imam to finish his Allahu Akbar and you start it.
قال والإمام الراتب كجماعة تعاد معه الصلاة للفضيلة ولا يعيدها لذلك وله أن يجمع ليلة المطر وحده ويحرم ابتداء صلاة بعد الإقامة للراتب وإن أقيمت على مصل قطع إن خشي فوات ركعة وإلا أتم النافلة مقتصرا على فرائضها وفي الفرض تفصيل يطلب من المطولات.
Okay, so he says that the imam, the imam ratib, the official imam of the mosque, that's the imam ratib, the imam that has been designated to lead a prayer for a particular masjid. So in his capacity of imam, he is like a jama'ah. So it can, if you miss the prayer, you pray alone and you found the imam ratib came. Let's say the example that was given earlier. You came to a masjid and you saw that the jama'ah has already been prayed and you pray your dhuhr. And later you found the imam ratib of the masjid coming to the masjid and starting in the jama'ah, but no one joined the jama'ah, he was alone. So you cannot say that, oh, I pray alone and the imam is alone, so there's no point to make my i'ada, to repeat my prayer. Here he said that the imam ratib, even if he's praying alone, is like a jama'ah. And that's very interesting. That's very a very good understanding, because sometimes the imam should not say that, oh, I will not go to the masjid since I know that no one will come. I will pray at home. So going to the masjid, knowing that this is a prayer time prayer and no one will join, so it's like it is having the jama'ah in himself. So he said that in this case, when I saw that, I know that that's the imam ratib, even if he's alone, is like a jama'ah. I can repeat my prayer with him and have the reward of the jama'ah. But the imam ratib, if he came, the same example, the imam came and no one was there and he started his prayer with jama'ah, he finished the jama'ah on the time that was supposed to make the jama'ah, and 10 people came later and they made the jama'ah. So the imam ratib would not repeat his prayer behind the jama'ah to have a jama'ah reward, because alone it was already a jama'ah. So the imam also can combine prayer in the night of rain alone. The imam was in the masjid and it was raining and there was no jama'ah. He cannot say that since there's no jama'ah, there's no reason for me to combine the prayer. I will just pray alone. No, the imam can combine the two prayer, but combining two prayer for rain for the Maliki is only at night, unlike the Shafi'i, where you can combine Dhuhr and Asr for rain, and Maghrib and Isha. For the Maliki, you can only combine Maghrib and Isha for rain. For the Hanafi, you do not combine two prayer except in Hajj. And he said, ويحرم ابتداء الصلاة بعد الإقامة لراتب. So he said that you go to a masjid, you find that the Imam Ratib has already prayed the Jama'ah with his Jama'ah. And you cannot initiate a second Jama'ah in the same masjid to pray another Jama'ah. That's haram. And for the Maliki, it's haram to initiate a second Jama'ah after the first Jama'ah in the same masjid, because this may create some tensions and some divisions, people having different Jama'at in the masjid, while the wisdom of Jama'ah is to unify the believers under one leadership. So when you allow that Jama'ah to be multiplied, you're losing the wisdom. And then he said that وَإِنْ أُقِيمَتْ عَلَى مُصَلِّي قَطَعَ إِنْ خَشِيَ فَوَاتِ رَكَعَةٍ. So I went to the masjid and start my sunnah of Dhuhr. And when I was making my Dhuhr, my sunnah, I pray 2 rak'ah, I pray my first rak'ah, and when I stood up for my second rak'ah, I found that the iqama is being done for Dhuhr prayer. Here, قطع إن خشية فوات ركعة. So I found that if I finish my prayer, hold on, let me read here. I'm not sure about this. We'll repeat the regular Imam. Yes, so I found that the iqama has started for Dhuhr. And I realized, I know that I can finish my prayer and catch the Imam before he raises his head from the ruku, before I miss 1 rak'ah. In this case, I finish my prayer, my sunnah, and I join, because I'm able to combine both, to do my sunnah and also join the jama'ah. But if when I started my first rak'ah, they started the iqama, and no way I can finish my 2 rak'ah and catch the imam before he raised his head from his ruku. Here I just interrupt my prayer and join the jama'ah. مختصرا على فرائدها here. وإن أقيمت على مصلي قطع إن خشي فوات ركعة وإلا أتم النافلة مختصرا لفوات. So if I can finish my sunnah without bringing all the sunnah of the prayer, that's what I should do. I should not be worried about the virtue, the fara'id. I should just bring the fara'id so that I can make it to catch the rak'ah and the jama'ah. But if I was praying fard, let's say that I was making up, I was praying fard, Dhuhr, I saw that it was, they already prayed Dhuhr, and I start my Dhuhr, and I found that the starting the Dhuhr should interrupt my fard and join another fard, or I should complete my fard. He said that here there are some details that is mentioned in longer text. I'm not sure about those details, so I cannot summarize them. I didn't have a chance to look. So let's just take from here that there are details in this case, but is not mentioned in this text, short text. Go ahead, Majid.
قال وتكره إمامة أعرابي وذي سلس أو قروح إلا لمثله وأغلف ومجهول حال وترتب خصي أو عبد في فرض أو سنة.
So he said that it is makruh, it is disliked to take as an imam So the translation is a nomad, which also make is okay, but I will say translated by a Bedouin more. A Bedouin is a person who lives in the desert. So a person who's not accustomed with usually Bedouin that time did not go to school, and they don't know the rules of prayer. So that person that is there's a chance that he would not know some rulings of the prayer. It is disliked to appoint him as an official imam, or to take him as an imam. And also a person who is suffering by incontinence. That's a person who lose control of his urine or passing gas. He cannot. He has some bladder problems. He cannot control. So urine will be leaking from him continuously most of the time of the prayer, or he will not be able to preserve his wudu for a long time, or he has some wound and then blood will be coming leaking all time. It is disliked to appoint him as an imam. And also to appoint an uncircumcised man, a man that you know for some reason that is not circumcised. It is disliked to appoint him as an imam. Or a person who's unknown and there's no sign of him being knowledgeable in the religion, or being a person who has studied the rules of prayer and can recite. You don't want to take a chance and put somebody leading the prayer, and then in the middle of the prayer, you realize that he does not know. You will be in an interesting situation. So it's disliked to choose somebody that you don't know to be an imam. And then it is also disliked to appoint an official imam for a person. I think that the word is eunuch. I think that is how you pronounce that, a eunuch. A eunuch is a person who's in ancient time when they will take some slave and went to they will put them to some process where they will not be able to procreate, to give birth, and they will not be able to have intimate relation with women. So that's a eunuch. It is disliked to use a eunuch as an official imam, and also to use a slave as an official imam in Fard or Sunnah. In modern day, this may be some may sound like some discrimination things, but it seems that the idea, the wisdom behind that, you don't want people to find something to disrespect the imam, or something for people to talk about the imam, or to put the imam in a situation of weakness where he will have to enter in different calculation because he does not want somebody to bring the story, oh, you eunuch, you so and so and so. So it is, in a sense, protecting the imam himself and protecting the community. That's how we can look at it in modern days. Definitely, the intention is not for discrimination, because if he's a slave, people will find something to disrespect him. And go ahead, Majid.
قال وتبطل صلاة المأموم ببطلان صلاة الإمام إلا في مسائل منها سبق الحدث ونسيانه وذكر النجاسة في محموله أو بدنه أو سهو عن سجدة فسبح له ولم يرجع فسجدها المأموم لنفسه وتركه القبلية المترتبة عن 3 سنن فسجده المؤتم.
I think that it may be better to stop here. Inshallah is 53. So let's stop here, inshallah ta'ala, and pick up from here for tomorrow.
جزاكم الله خير إمام.
Barakallahu fiqh, inshallah. Okay, assalamu alaikum. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نستغفرك ونتوب نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك.